Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. The return of a fighter, a young fighter, that I had heard a lot about in previous years. A fighter that goes by the name Fei Faiva. Samoan fighter based out of the state of New York. A fighter that I had heard a lot about 2 or 3 years ago due to her likeness, her fighting style, and how it closely mirrors that of Iron Mike Tyson. She recently returned to action against Destiny Jones of Texas, and she knocked her out. She stopped her in about 1 round, sporting a professional record of 6 wins with no losses, 1 draw, 4 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 7 professional bouts, 22 years old.
Interesting tidbits about this fighter.
Fei debuted as a professional in September of 2020, and she managed to fight 5 times that year, only once the following year. But after that, she seems to have taken a long hiatus from the sport. She sat out all of 2022, 2023, and she didn't return to action until earlier this month.
So even though she was gone for a while and she's got lost time to make up for, because she's so young, she's got plenty of time to do it.
Previous years, Fei has weighed in as low as 122 pounds, that's super bantamweight, but in her most recent fight, she weighed in at 134. Her opponent weighed in at 143.
The girl she knocked out in that video.
She weighed 9 pounds more than Fei. Fei still stopped her. Fei still knocked her out in just 1 round.
In spite of her opponent having a 9-pound weight advantage.
So this being Fei's first fight in a very long time, she may have weighed in at or around lightweight, but I anticipate that in her very next fight, she might move down, campaign at 130.
Usually that's how that goes.
Fighter that's been out for a while, they might come in at 1 weight, and in their very next fight, they will have dropped down in weight. They're just easing their way back into activity. That's what Fei is doing.
Seeing her in action, you can see why people liken her to a female Mike Tyson. She really has a strong grasp on how to properly execute that peekaboo style.
It takes a unique set of ingredients to be able to do that. Fast feet with fast hands and a conscious effort to stay off the line. Stay off the line at all times. Slip and hook, slip and counter,
bob and weave,
crowd the pocket and let punches go. It's a very unique style that you don't often see a lot of fighters today try and execute, but essentially it's pressure fighting.
In the realm of the 3 base styles, the peekaboo style is pressure fighting. That's a pressure fighting style.
And young Fei could do a lot of damage in today's super featherweight or lightweight divisions.
She's exciting.
And given that her comeback fight ended so abruptly, I can only hope that they get her back out there and get her back out there in a jiffy.
The caveat is that she's not with a major promotional outfit. That can prove difficult when you don't have a major promoter pouring money into your career behind you to get you opponents and get you opportunities.
To stifle a fighter's progression, but like I said before, the silver lining for Fei is that in spite of her having lost the last 2 years, she's still very young.
She's made for TV.
She's made for television. I mean, a little bit of Iron Mike with a little bit of David Tua in female form. Young Fei.
This kid's a winner.
And I can only hope that Fei gets the financial backing she needs this calendar year to fight on a major platform, because there are so many fighters that fight on major platforms that don't bring to the table the same excitement and raw ferocity that Fei does.
Male and female.
Let's be honest, there are a lot of boring fucking fighters that make their way to a major platform, whether it's ESPN or DAZN.
Sport of boxing needs more fighters like Fei, especially in America.
Fighters with bad intentions, fighters that want to hurt you and knock you the fuck out.
In this postmodern era of boxing where everybody's a mogul and an entrepreneur.
Or a brand. They're trying to build their brand. Can we get back to the fighters that fight like fighters and act like fighters? Can we do that?
Jesus Christ!
In men's super lightweight news, former WBA champion of the Dominican Republic, Alberto Puello, took to social media and said, "I deserve to be the WBC champion, not Devin Haney, because he just received a beating at the hands of Ryan Garcia. So how's it possible that he maintains the title if he doesn't want to fight Sandor Martin? Tell him to abandon the title, and I will take care of that." To which Devin Haney responded, "You deserved to be banned for cheating." Lest we forget how Alberto Puello lost his WBA title, he didn't lose it in the ring.
I believe it was in April of last year he tested positive for a banned substance.
Was subsequently stripped of the WBA title. He received a 6-month suspension from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, which is tantamount to a slap on the wrist. It's like I told you. If the suspension is only for 6 months, well, the duration of time between one fight to the next these days, it's about 6 months.
So that kind of suspension is no kind of suspension at all.
Devin Haney continued, "Brother, kiss my ass. I do what I want."
Well, if he wants to keep the WBC title, he's got to fight Sandor Martin.
Immediately after Devin's loss to Ryan Garcia, Eddie Hearn revealed that he advised Devin to defend his WBC Super Lightweight World title versus Sandor Martin next, rather than unify versus Subriel Matias following the Ryan Garcia defeat. "I don't think Matias is the right fight for Devin right now, coming off that loss. I'm not saying Devin wouldn't fight Matias, he would. I believe Martin is the right fight." Yeah, compared to a Matias fight.
Some are highlighting these post-fight comments to accent that it's shady for Eddie Hearn to have advised Devin to fight Sandor Martin just to not pay for the fight.
If you weren't going to pay for the fight, then why did you advise him to fight that fighter? And it's likely because the Sandor Martin fight is a more winnable fight for Devin than the Matias fight would have been.
Never said he was going to pay for it.
He's telling him, fight Sandor Martin, get yourself back in the winner's bracket, rebound off that loss to Ryan.
But he never said he was going to pay for it.
And before we got to this point, back in April, Devin Haney said, "I told Eddie, I'm not vacating nothing. I want all the smoke." From April till here, till where we are now.
What changed?
Nobody's offering Devin astronomical money for a Sandor Martin fight. That's what happened. That's what changed. Changed his mind. So he may end up vacating the WBC title, and if he does, who does Sandor fight in his place?
Sandor's ranked at number 1. Gary Antoine Russell, at least in the most recent set of updated rank standings, he's ranked at number 2, but he just lost to Alberto Puello this past weekend.
Alberto is ranked at number 9, and I'm sure, given that he beat the number 2 ranked fighter Gary Russell, he will gain ground in the WBC's rank standings. The question is, how much ground? Is he going to jump from number 9 all the way up to number 2?
Is that how the WBC are going to do it?
Because Jack Catterall, a fighter with considerably more push and more money behind him, he's ranked at number 3. Dalton Smith, he's ranked at number 4, and Hitchardson Richens is ranked at number 5.
What do all 3 of those guys got in common?
They're all matchroom fighters, every single one of them. Jack, Dalton, Richardson, Hitchens, they're all matchroom guys.
With more money behind them than, say, the PBC is investing in Alberto Puello.
Because let's be honest, they're not that invested in that guy.
No.
It's possible that Alberto is elevated to the number 2 spot, that he's elevated to the position that Gary Russell was occupying, but it's just as possible that maybe Jack gets elevated to number 2.
That maybe Alberto will gain some ground when the ranks are updated, but not so much ground that he's ranked at number 2.
We'll see. Being honest with you, Sandor Martin versus Alberto Puello, yeah, that's a stinker too.
That's a dud.
Like Haney versus Martin would have been a dud, Puello versus Martin is a dud. It's not an exciting fight. Stylistically, it don't make for a great TV fight.
It's going to be interesting to see how all of this breaks down.
Who will end up fighting Sandor Martin for what could be the newly vacated WBC title on the premise that Devin doesn't want to fight him? He might not because he doesn't like the money.
Oh, what? He was expecting more than 2.4 for a fight like this?
I say it all the time. Fighters are never realistic about the kind of money they should get based on their own market value. Devin Haney himself said, "I'm going to take some time, spend my money, travel the world, and I'll be back in 2 years after Ryan's suspension, and we can fight again."
Wait a minute, what?
Should we expect Devin Haney to take a 2-year hiatus, a 2-year holiday from the sport of boxing from here on out? And being honest, No, I just think he's being facetious.
Facetious about what?
What could be Ryan Garcia's upcoming suspension. Veteran strength and conditioning coach Memo Heredia hinted, based on what he's hearing, the punishment Ryan is about to receive, it's a harsh one.
Define harsh.
Veteran boxing scribe Julius Julianus stated it should be because he tried to tamper with the evidence.
Falsify it, I should say.
So Ryan sent in 2 open containers from 2 separate supplement manufacturers that both just happened to test positive for Osterin. What are the odds of that? That 2 separate supplement manufacturers
2 different brands
would be contaminated with the same banned substance they found in you. What, are these 2 supplements handled in the same warehouse?
Likely not.
And if they're not, how the fuck did that happen?
You put it there. You put the Osterin in those supplements to try to bolster your story's credibility.
So that could have happened because the idea that it just happened on its own circumstantially, the odds of that are slim to nil. It doesn't help that NutraBio covered their own bases on their own end, conducted their own independent testing, and the supplements of the same lot number as the containers that Ryan Garcia sent in, none of them tested positive for Osterin.
What does that mean?
That Ryan can't put this on them. He can't shift the blame over to the supplement manufacturer. That news broke about 4 days ago, and I noticed that many of the content creators, the big ones that have been asserting Ryan Garcia's innocence, were very slow to deliver that news to their subscribers. To my knowledge, they didn't make videos about it.
Gee, why not?
Because it doesn't look good. And while they've been happy to conduct a mock trial, in the court of public opinion.
Public opinion may not be enough to save Ryan.
If what Memo Heredia is hinting at is true, Ryan is about to receive a harsh punishment. And that's what I think Devin Haney is being facetious about when he says he's going to take a hiatus for 2 years.
After Ryan's suspension is over.
I think he's hinting that Ryan may be about to receive a 2-year suspension instead of a 6-month suspension. Now, I don't know how much of this is true, but both he and Memo Heredia are hinting at something. What do they know that we don't?
Memo said we'll find out by Friday.
It's Wednesday now. Only 2 business days left in this week. Between now and then, I'm sure we'll get the answers that we're looking for.
And the New York State Athletic Commission will bring all of this to a conclusion. Irrespective of any of that, it's looking more and more like Devin won't remain WBC champion at 140. And to that, veteran manager Rick Merrigan said,
yes, he will be stripped. Respectfully, it won't matter to his pocket. He has too much equity in his name, and it will keep him at $3 million plus for now. If the belts mattered, as you say, then you wouldn't have so many champions making under $500,000 and certain non-champions making millions.
2 things can be true at the same time. But what's true for one guy isn't true for another. Ryan Garcia, who we just talked about, is a prime example. He doesn't have a belt. He's not a champion, nor has he ever been, but he still makes a fuck ton of money.
But is what's true for Ryan true for everybody else? Is it true for Devin? Devin caught wind of Rick Merrigan's comment, and in so many words he said, Rick gets it.
Gets what?
That Devin doesn't need a belt to get over $3 million plus, over $3 million?
Okay, then why didn't a bunch of promoters bid on your fight? You have a belt. You are a champion.
And only one promotional outfit put a bid in for the fight, and it was on Sandor Martin's behalf. It was Sandor's promoter. So, if Rick Merrigan is right in his assertion that Devin is in a place to where he doesn't need a belt to make $3 million plus, why didn't anybody offer him $3 million plus?
Why didn't Matchroom? Why didn't he put the money up himself?
He's a promoter, isn't he? DHP Promotions.
Devin said I'm promoting myself from now on, or I might just work with...
Before we got here, I told you that Haney versus Martin is a dud. It's not aesthetically pleasing, it's not a good fight, it's not a good TV fight, and it definitely ain't the kind of fight the way you gotta break the piggy bank to make it happen. This is a prime example. Only Top Rank put a bid in for the show, and it was a very modest bid. Matchroom didn't even bother.
Golden Boy didn't even bother. The PBC didn't even bother. That none of the major outfits in America put a bid in for this fight. So what does that tell you?
That tells me that Devin isn't in a place where people are just going to throw money at him off of name value alone. The only people that I can think of that would have that kind of money to burn are the Saudis. Is His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. Is that who Devin Haney is hinting at working with?
He said he's going to start promoting himself, or he might work with... Shh.
Yesterday, it was announced that Mario Barrios had been officially upgraded from interim to full WBC world champion after Terrence Crawford was made a champion in recess. And for all those people thinking that belts don't matter, it doesn't matter when it comes to Devin, look at how Johnny on the spot Devin was to respond to that news.
Mauricio!
It looks like somebody's interested in fighting Mario Barrios, but if Devin Haney's name has so much value, so much fucking value, that he doesn't need a belt.
What's he calling for Mauricio for? Why would he want to fight Mario Barrios? Is it because Mario Barrios now has a belt?
And is it because, in your mind's eye, it's easier to win a belt from Mario Barrios than, say, Jaron Ennis?
So you're after a belt.
But people are telling me that when it comes to you, belts don't matter. They seem to matter to you if you're going after Mario Barrios' belt.
Two things can be true at the same time. For some fighters, a belt isn't necessary to make a 7 or in some instances an even 8-figure payday to some fighters. But I don't think Devin is one of those fighters. I don't think he's in that place. If he were, more promoters would have piped up to buy the rights to his fight with Sandor Martin. But they didn't.
Now that doesn't mean he can't work a situation. Work a situation to where he can get at a 7-figure payday, because he can.
But it's a situation that involves a belt. It still involves a belt. Mario Barrios' belt. So when you tell me that belts don't matter, that's not a very convincing argument in the case of Devin Haney. No, they still matter.
What is the commercial value of a Haney versus Barrios fight at 147 pounds? Where would you put the number? I mean, if Devin is looking to make in the neighborhood of $3 million or $3 million plus, and he would be the challenger, what would you pay the champion? Pretty sure Mario Barrios' people, as defending champions, well, they're going to want to make some money too. So what do you pay? $3 million to Devin and $3 million to Mario? That would put the pot at $6 million. $6 million for that fight. Is that a $6 million fight? I remember when Triller placed the winning bid for the Lopez versus Cambosos fight, just north of $6 million. To try and get their money back, you know they were going to bill it as a pay-per-view.
For a $6 million pot.
So if the pot for this fight is somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 million, do you think this fight is pay-per-view worthy? Haney versus Barrios. Is that a fight you would pay $70, $75 to see should you have to?
That's the question.
Now, I think Haney versus Barrios in the United States is a much more marketable fight than, say, Haney versus Martin. Sandor Martin. I think you could sell Barrios a bit better than you could the Martin fight, but let's not kid ourselves.
The numbers matter. What the fighters want to make from the fight, that matters.
That determines whether or not the fight happens. And the only people that I know of, the only person that can make the numbers work for both Mario Barrios and Devin Haney to where they're both satisfied, well, it's got to be Turkey El-Sheikh.
In previous months, there was an expressed interest to put Devin Haney in the ring with Gervonta Davis for what would be an obvious super fight. And those are the kind of fights that His Excellency seems to want to make. The super fights, the ones that are difficult to make. But I don't know if he wants to spend any money on this.
This is not a super fight, but hey, we'll see.